There's no doubt that video can enhance your current marketing efforts when it's done the right way. But when you're just getting started, it can feel a little uncomfortable being on camera. Actually, let's get real. Even if you've been doing video for a little while, it can still feel a little uncomfortable. So on today's episode of Propel Your Practice, we're talking about how you can ease your way into feeling more confident and authentic on camera. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Propel Your Practice. I'm your host, Darcy Sullivan, and on this podcast, we discuss actionable marketing strategies clinic owners can put in place to help propel their practice's presence online. And I am so excited for today's episode. Today, I'm joined by Kull to talk about not only how to get started with video marketing, but also how to do it in a way where you can feel more confident and authentic in the way you present yourself on camera. Kara helps small businesses put content creation back where it belongs as a tool to grow their businesses. She teaches how to determine who you're talking to, what you should say to them, and how to actually get it done consistently. Before we dive in, I want to mention that we have a bonus guide included in the show notes. It's called the YouTube SEO Guide, How to Get More Subscribers and Better Rankings. It's a blog post that we put together, and associated with it, we also have a downloadable guide and checklist. All right, on with today's show. Well, I am so excited, Kara, to have you here on the show today.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here.
I mean, we are going to be talking about video, which is all the rage right now.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, from social media to blog posts, YouTube now is its own search engine. So there's no stopping video. And the fact that, people are able to record with their phones even right now, it's changed the game.
Absolutely. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think right now is such an important time to be on video because there is so much opportunity there. One thing that I wanted to mention just right off the top as we're going in is TikTok. And I know as soon as I say that, everybody freaks out and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do TikTok. But here's the thing. TikTok is like these opportunities do not come along very often where you can really still get in where you can still grow organically on TikTok. You can still go viral on TikTok. All these things that you used to be able to do on Instagram like 7-8 years ago, you can do on TikTok right now. And so I think this is why video is so important. And also same thing with Instagram. Like if you are doing reels consistently on Instagram, you can grow. Where if you're just doing pictures and that kind of stuff, it's really tough to grow right now. So yes, video is so important and there's so much room to grow, I think, in both those spaces.
I think you're right. That's interesting. I was talking to another marketing company and we were talking about TikTok because I'm like, I don't know if we want to do TikTok. And he was telling me, he's like, you can't think of it just like the funny dances. You've got basically two categories. You've got entertainment and you have education. And there's so much room for growth within the education sector, but you've got to just feel comfortable enough and be brave enough to jump right in.
Yes. And education right now, that's true for TikTok. It's true for Instagram. It's also true for YouTube. The videos that are tending to do best on YouTube are actually over an hour right now because people are going on and they want to learn something, right? So to me, TikTok's kind of the Wild West. It's a little bit exciting. So you can throw stuff up there and see what works, I think it's a fun time to be on over there. And yes, don't worry about dancing.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And
unless you want to, if it works with what you're doing, absolutely bring out your tap shoes. But otherwise, Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on today is most people that are listening either are a little too nervous to get started with videos, or they really would love to feel more confident in putting together videos. So I wanted to see if you could share with us some things to make putting videos together just easier.
Yes. Okay. So I have a couple tips, but the first one is the one that no one wants to hear. And it's kind of speaks to the first part of your sentence there. And if you're scared, the thing is, you just have to do it. And you just have to do it a lot. And you just have to know that you're going to get better. Because the thing is, when everyone started doing reels, they were so bad. No one knew what they were doing. So you have to like just start and let yourself evolve over time. And one thing I always tell people to do is go on to the feed of somebody that you like and scroll back, like keep going, just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and see how, they didn't start with the curated videos that they have now. I can guarantee. So you really do just have to start and just start putting it out there. Like no one wants to hear that, but you just got to do it.
Somebody was saying the other day how Tim Ferriss, so how like if you go back and you listen to one of his beginning podcasts, you're like, dude, pull yourself together. And now look at him. So like, yes, everybody starts somewhere. And so you just gotta take a step in.
Exactly. Okay, but I will give you a couple of tips more than just that to how you can kind of psych yourself up to get going. And so the first one is I feel like it helps to dress the part. Okay. So what I think that this works in two ways. I think if you get dressed up for your videos, number one, it makes you feel better. And the thing that I don't want to happen is when you go on to record yourself, you spend the entire time looking at yourself and thinking about how bad your hair looks.
Right.
Or that like, I wish I would have put on makeup, because that's like your brain. It's not engaged then with delivering content. It's thinking about you, which is exactly what you don't want to do. Okay. So that sounds like a really simple thing, but I think being dressed, you also feel better when you're dressed up, right? So you deliver in a different way when you're dressed up. So I think that's a really big thing. And the other piece of this is mainly, okay, so we're talking to a lot of service providers here. And so you're wanting people to trust that you know what you're talking about, right?
Right.
So when people show up and maybe they're like doing a video and their kids are screaming in the background and they look like they haven't showered in a week, like that doesn't build trust. And it's these little things that I think that matter on video. Now, if you're a mom influencer and your whole, who you're talking to is you're making people feel better about themselves, like, look, here I am and I'm in the mess and that's fine. That's one thing. But to me, if you are wanting people to give you money because you know exactly what you're talking about, that it really helps to show up and look the part. Imagine, would you go into your office and meet with clients, like not showering for a week? So I think this is part of it. It's kind of starting to build that brand around what it is that you're talking about. Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense. We had one photographer that came on, Chelsea Irwin Birds, and we were talking about like do the check before you take the pictures, and the same with the video. Like, do you have stuff in your pockets? Are your keys in your pockets? Do you still have your sunglasses on your head? Tuck your shirt in. Make sure, you're not looking a little wrinkly. Make sure you're in check before you hit the record button.
Right. And as you go, maybe your audience, you find that they really like it when you're disheveled or whatever, and that's fine. But at the beginning, like give yourself as many wins as you can. I think there's a gal, I don't know if you know her. Do you know Sharon Says So?
Yeah.
She does like, she used to be a history teacher and now she basically explains politics, and she goes on a lot of news things and talks about, like, for example, the Ukraine and that sort of thing. Uh-huh. She always shows up on video put together.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason for that, because she wants you to trust her and know that she knows what she's talking about.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So that would be my first tip. Shower.
Shower.
Actually, you're on video, so you don't even have to shower, but put on, throw on some lipstick.
Yeah. Well, COVID changed things. People are a little bit more lax. So yeah, it's a nice friendly reminder. Shower. I like it. Okay, what's the next tip?
Okay, so the next one is practice all the time. And I cannot say this enough. Just practice all the time with what you want to be talking about. So let's say that you are a hairdresser. And so you want to be talking about, I don't know, different ways to do your hair, whatever. Talk about it. Like when you're driving in the car, talk about it. When you're in the shower, the thing that does is it helps you speak a lot more naturally about what it is you're teaching about and what you're talking about. What you don't want to happen is that you get on video, and it's fine if you, well, actually, no, it's not probably fine when you're starting to have a script, because it's hard. Like teleprompters, there's a reason that they pay people money to use teleprompters, because it's hard to speak naturally while reading a script, right?
Right.
So the more you can talk about it, so the more organic it will feel when you actually hop on video. And I mean, one thing is you can definitely write down quick notes so that you remember what you're talking about. But I just think practice. I mean, I am sure when I'm driving around in my car, I'm like talking to myself, hands flying everywhere. But I think then it's in your body. So you're not having to memorize things.
Right. That's what I was going to say. So like on your way to the office or the clinic, just practice what you're going to go on camera talking about while you're in your car, wave your arms around like a lunatic, and it'll be just fine.
Yeah, exactly. And the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it and the easier it's going to be, so that, when you hop on. I mean, honestly, one of the best things you can do is just go live a couple times, because then you're going to figure out how to speak to the camera on the fly. And also, can I just say, at the beginning, no one is looking at your stuff. No one's looking at what you're doing. So who cares? Even when you're bigger, no one's really looking at your stuff. So just do it. You know what I mean? I promise. Not that many people are watching.
So get used to it on social media when you have 3 followers. So when you have 3,000, you're going to be better.
Okay, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then the third tip is, and this is probably my most important tip, you really want to know why you are going on. So you don't want to just go on and not have a reason. And I think a big piece of this is knowing exactly who you're talking to and what problem of theirs that you're trying to solve. Okay. And if you know that, then you have a true reason for turning on the mic, and it makes it so much easier, because then you're there to, impart your knowledge and to serve. And I want to share, there's a gal called Skin.Boss on Instagram who does this so well. Like, everybody should go and look at her. She is so good. She knows exactly who she's talking to and what problem she's solving. So she is an esthetician out of Utah, and she is definitely talking to people that are invested in skincare. And she's not having to convince that skincare is important, but they don't know enough to know what to buy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're talking to somebody who buys a whole bunch of products on Instagram all the time, maybe me. And then, because it pops up and you're like, I don't know, that sounds good. But you don't really know why you're buying it, but you know that you need to be doing it, right?
Right.
And she had this really great video that was all about, should you buy skin products that cost more money? And the analogy she gave was, imagine the difference between putting iceberg lettuce on your skin and kale on your skin.
Oh, I like
iceberg lettuce will kind of get you through, right?
Right.
But kale is actually going to heal your skin and do all these things. And what she is doing is she is speaking to people that understand the importance of kale on your skin, right? So she's not trying to convince the iceberg lettuce people like, no, you've got to do this. You've got, she's like, no. You need kale. And this is what your skin is like. So you're going to do this. So it's all education, speaking very succinctly to this one person.
I love that.
And I think she is growing so fast because you land on her page and okay, like, yes, that's me, or no, it's not.
Right.
Right.
Right. And it's okay. I think that's where some people get hung up on niching down or on really honing in on their target audience. A lot of chiropractors that I talk to, they're like, well, people come in because they have back pain. That's so generalized. I'm like, but if you're going to write a blog post, are you writing to somebody who's in their second trimester and that's why they're having back pain? Or are you writing to a guy that hurt himself during CrossFit? Because that's going to be two very different tones and two very different approaches.
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. This is so good. This is because it's that niching down. It makes it so much easier to create content. And it also can just blow up your business because, okay, let's take the example that you're talking about, that you're a chiropractor. So imagine that you're at a party and someone says, like a pregnant person says, oh, my back is killing me. Now, if everyone's like, oh, I have a chiropractor. Now imagine if one person there says, oh, I have a chiropractor that specializes in maternity.
Yeah.
Who is she going to call? I literally just got chills because who is she going to call?
Right.
Of course, she's going to call that maternity chiropractor. And then you're going to go in and you can have all sorts of things to help her along her journey. And maybe they're, the same things that a regular chiropractor would sell. But what's cool is that they are specifically for her. Now, you can better believe all of her friends are pregnant and she's going to go and tell them all, look at this person changed my life. Now my back, I can walk, all these things. Now that you have a baby and now that person's going to keep going to you because suddenly they have a baby on their hip and everyone worries, well, then I'm not going to have, enough people to sell to. Well, imagine now she has a partner who's carrying a baby around.
Right.
So that person also is going to need it. Right.
Right.
And what happens when you do that online is that then like this Skin Boss gal has done, she is in Utah, but she is selling products all over. I mean, I bought products from her and I'm in Colorado because she was speaking so directly to me. And so if you decide, okay, now I'm a chiropractor that focuses on pregnancy, that's so easy online because then you're just creating content for, women that are going into that part of their life. You can also then partner with other brands, with other bloggers. I mean, it makes it so easy to be like, okay, maybe I'll do this thing with Babylist because they have the exact same demographic as me.
Right.
Everything
Absolutely.
suddenly becomes so much easier. That's the power of the niche. I know everyone's scared of it, but my goodness. And it doesn't mean you can't still serve other people.
Right.
It just means that, it gives you something to focus on and it makes it easier to sell.
And it doesn't even have to be that kind of like I know chiropractors where let's just say there was one who really had a strong background in jiu-jitsu. I can never say that word. Jiu-jitsu. We'll just say karate. Completely mess it up. But okay. So let's say karate. So he partnered with local karate places and expanded his audience that way. And he was known as like the chiropractor for people who did karate because they had the type of problems that were associated with that. And so his target audience was niched down. It doesn't mean that he didn't also help the people that came in and just said, oh, I have back pain, but it really helped him stand out in the crowd for sure.
Absolutely.
So, are there any common mistakes that you see newbies making when they first go to video besides just standing there and saying, all the time?
Well, I mean, we all do that. So
yeah, true.
It's kind of terrifying when you watch yourself and you're like, is that really? I mean, I say, for me, it's so. I say so.
I'm the same. I do so, because I think I was told so many times, don't do that instead I replaced it with the so.
Totally. Which, again, that's totally normal. And no one else is going to notice. I think that the biggest mistake that newbies make is, and this takes a little bit of practice, but it's not directing your energy to the camera. And let me explain a little bit what I mean by that. Imagine if you're at a networking event and you are talking to someone who is kind of looking over your shoulder and they're looking around and, they're doing the thing where they're like, oh, who else is here? Right. And they're talking to you. Their energy is not directed to you. But when you talk to that one person at the networking event who focuses all of their energy on you, it changes everything, right? You feel that connection. And that's what we're going for when we do video, is that connection. You want to make a connection with the people who are watching your video. So when you do it, especially when you're starting out, you shouldn't be walking. You don't want to be doing other things. I think one of the best things to do is to actually just sit yourself down and find somewhere and talk directly to the camera. And this kind of goes into one of my biggest tips for how to be yourself on camera. But I think that one thing that really helps is think of the one person who is obsessed with what you're doing and then imagine talking to them. Yeah. So for me, I know exactly who I'm talking to. And I have one friend who just loves everything that I do. Everything I do, she's like, oh my God, you're so amazing. So when I sit down and I talk to the camera, I imagine I'm just talking to her. And that creates intimacy, right? And it creates connection because I just imagine I'm talking to her. I do the same thing with writing. This is a juicy tip, is that when you write your blogs or anything, you write it to one person, that person who's really into you, right? Because it just creates that intimacy. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing, is to just sit down and do that one thing. And remember, you can always hit re-record, right? I mean, you can just keep doing it until you get kind of what you want. Right. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is really direct your energy to the camera.
What about, I know sometimes when people are just getting started, they get so excited to get the message out there. And especially if they have a smaller audience, they kind of forget to say who they are at the beginning. And they kind of just skip that, or they forget to say at the close, a call to action. So it could be you have this big, amazing message for them, but you don't tell them what actions to take. So then it doesn't necessarily convert because they're not going from the A to the Z. They're just kind of floating around in the middle.
Well, and I think a big part of this is knowing why you're going on camera. Right. So that solves, because sometimes you do want to go on camera just to build rapport.
Obviously,
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes, right. And so then that's your reason for going on, and you create that intimacy. Sometimes you're going on and selling something.
Right.
So you want to make sure, go and you give the call to action. Also, on YouTube, obviously you always want to introduce yourself and tell what you do. I think also it's good to just occasionally have a video where you hop on and you say hey, I have a bunch of new followers and this is who I am. Yes. Right. But you want to make sure at the beginning that you have a really good hook, especially on social media. So I would be careful about starting talking about who you are, because you always want to keep it about them. What problem am I solving for them? Right. Yeah. And then the hope is that you can say then head to my, if you want at the end, you can have a quick thing that says, head to my feed for more tips on this. Yeah. Or one thing that works really well is doing a series of tips. So you might have 5 tips and then you say follow for the next tip. Right.
Oh, I love that. Kind of that way, it's
juicy ways to keep. Yeah. So 2 big things are a hook at the beginning, what really draws people in, and questions are a really good one. Do you have terrible back pain from sitting at your computer all day?
Right.
Oh, gosh, yes, I do. Yes. Thank you for noticing.
Yes. Yeah.
Solve it. Right.
Yeah.
And then keeping it so that there are plenty of reasons for people to keep following. You want to leave the little breadcrumb trail, right?
Yes. I love that. Brilliant. So we talked a lot about how you can feel confident in the process. What about tools? What kind of tools do you suggest for somebody getting started?
Your phone. Don't make this hard. I think that everybody's I cannot do this until I have a camera and I have this and lighting and blah, 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 blah. No, you need your phone. Okay. You need your phone. So you have your phone. Go walk around your house so you can find the best light. Typically, it's if you're facing a window. That's going to be really good light. Okay. And I would say a phone, and then invest in a tripod. It's $20 on Amazon, but get a good one. Right. Oh my gosh, please get a good one. They have ones, what you want is they have ones that have, I don't know what it's called, where if it's
stable or
it's it's not leaning.
Yeah. Good that
how they have that. Yeah. What's that thing called? You put on the wall? Whatever.
Level.
Good. Get one with a level that will change your life. And then get one that is you want one that's like more like steel kind of, so it goes up and down easy. I mean, don't spend the money on a tripod. It's like $25. But put your tripod up, stand in front of a window. Don't make it hard. Put your phone on it and start recording. Like that's what you need to get started. I mean, and obviously you can go and you can add lights later and all that kind of stuff, but that's really what you need. And then there are and then for editing apps, I think Canva is actually really great. It makes it really easy to edit videos.
Okay.
Especially reels. I mean, you can edit reels in the app, but I think it's really difficult personally. TikTok is much easier to edit within the app.
Uh-huh.
But Canva, I don't know. I think Canva is really easy. And then there's InShot if you want to get a little bit more, into that. And then there's a Color Story, which is really good for editing your videos and just making them look good.
Okay.
Those are the three that I would probably recommend the most.
We'll include the links to those in the show notes for everybody listening. Yeah.
Perfect. But
so,
don't make this hard. I feel like everyone makes videos so hard at the beginning. Like, just get started, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to know if you have any like big tip for anybody on just like how to be yourself, how to feel more comfortable. Like, what is your one big juicy nugget of this will make you feel more comfortable?
So I think it kind of goes back to like imagining that you're talking to one person and that you are really solving one problem for them, right?
I love that.
What's the one problem that they have and how can you solve it? And what's working really well right now is authenticity. So that's great because that means you don't have to be perfect. This is not about perfection. This is about you being authentic. And that is how people connect with you. Okay. And the other thing I want to say is you're not going to be for everybody. And that's great. That's great. That's what you want. You want the people that are into you because you're being your authentic self to be really, really into you. And then everyone else can just kind of float away. So I think it's just that it's imagining that friend and just speaking to them really, really authentically. Boy, nailed the ending on that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Well, before we head out, can you share with everybody, and we'll include it in the show notes as well, how they can get in touch with you, where to find you on social media and your website?
Yes. So I am at karakull.com. And then I'm also on Instagram and TikTok at the Kara Kull. So KARAKULL. And I did want to mention that I have a free webinar, which is the 5 content mistakes that you're probably making and how to fix them right now. So it's a lot of like kind of what we're talking about here, but I just really believe in hands-on tips that are really easy to just implement and get you up and going. Because I don't think anyone should be spending all their time creating content. You got to be working on your business. So it's like, let's put content where it belongs. Let's get it out there and let it work for you, but also make it really easy.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody will be able to listen to this and feel a little bit more confident next time they go on camera.
I hope so. Just go and do it. And thanks for having me, Darcy.
You're welcome. Well, hey, before we head out, I want to invite you to join in on a free masterclass I put together on the 5 secrets to owning the first page at Google without paying for ads. You can find a link to sign up for this free masterclass in the show notes for this episode, or by visiting propelyourcompany.com/learn. During this workshop, we do a deep dive into strategies to help you improve your online presence, including your Google business profile. That's what used to be called the Google My Business listing and what controls the Google Maps section, along with how voice SEO plays a big role in today's search and where you should be focusing your efforts online for the biggest impact. All right. Well, that's it for today. Again, you can join the masterclass by visiting propelyourcompany.com/learn. And if you have a topic that you would like to hear on an upcoming episode of Propel Your Practice, please send it in by visiting propelyourcompany.com/podcast-topics or looking for the link in the show notes. Thanks so much for your time. I'll talk to you soon.